What's really striking straight away as soon as it's been turned over is that there are cartouches on this side which are not present on the other side.
King Tut's mask has amazed the world for over 100 years, capturing the mystery and beauty of ancient Egypt like no other artifact. But now, new scientific discoveries have uncovered secrets far more shocking than anyone ever imagined. Using advanced imaging and chemical analysis, researchers found strange markings and hidden materials buried within the mask's layers. What could these hidden clues mean? Join us as we uncover the truth, because what scientists discovered inside King Tut's mask will leave you speechless. The eternal glow of the Boy King. When the sealed tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun was opened in the Valley of the Kings in 1922, the world stood in awe. Hidden for over 3,000 years, the tomb glimmered with treasures untouched by time. Among them lay the masterpiece that would come to define ancient Egypt itself, the golden funerary mask of the young pharaoh. Tutankhamun ascended the throne when he was about 9 years old and ruled for only about 10 years. His reign was brief, but his death changed archaeology forever. The treasures buried with him were not meant for display. They were carefully prepared to secure his journey to the afterlife. According to ancient Egyptian belief, every item, from jewelry to weapons to statues, had a spiritual meaning. The golden mask, placed directly over his mummy's head and shoulders, was the most sacred of all. It was believed to help his spirit recognize his body and guide him safely to the realm of the gods. The mask weighs about 10 kilograms, more than 22 pounds, and is made almost entirely of solid gold. The surface glows with inlays of deep blue lapis lazuli, sky-colored turquoise, and reddish carnelian or glass paste. Across the brow, two sacred symbols stand side by side: the cobra, representing Lower Egypt, and the vulture, representing Upper Egypt. Together, they show the king's divine rule over both lands. The long plaited beard curving at the end marks him as a god, while the stripes on the headdress symbolize eternity and royal order. Every color, line, and gem on the mask had meaning. Gold was seen as the flesh of the gods, everlasting and pure. Blue stood for the heavens, while turquoise represented rebirth. The craftsmanship of the mask still amazes experts today. The face, with its gentle features and subtle smile, carries an expression of peace and eternal youth. Many believe the artists intended to show not only the pharaoh's beauty, but also his divine perfection, a being who had become one with the gods. For decades, the mask was considered flawless, a work of art beyond human error. It became the symbol of ancient Egyptian power, mystery, and immortality. Yet, as time passed and science advanced, tiny details began to draw new attention. There were fine lines, faint seams, and slight color differences. The pierced ears were curious for a male ruler's funerary mask. Was there something more to this masterpiece than met the eye? Could this symbol of perfection carry a forgotten secret hidden beneath its gold? If the mask was not exactly as it seemed, then what was its true story? Secrets beneath the shine. As decades passed after the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb, the golden mask continued to draw millions of eyes. It traveled to museums, featured in documentaries, and became one of the most recognized treasures in the world. For a long time, no one dared to question its perfection. Yet, with modern tools and sharper curiosity, scientists began to look more closely at what this mask was truly made of, and what it might be hiding. Using modern imaging, spectroscopy, and microscopic study, experts noticed something curious. The gold on the face was not exactly the same as the gold on the rest of the mask. The tone of the face was slightly different, a warmer shade, while the rest of the mask had a cooler, more yellow tone. These differences suggested that the mask was not made from a single piece of gold, but rather from different alloys fused together. It was a detail that earlier observers might have missed with the naked eye. Then came another puzzle. The ears were pierced. In ancient Egypt, this feature was commonly seen on representations of queens or child princes, not on adult male pharaohs. Why would a burial mask for a young king be designed in a way that did not match royal tradition? Some Egyptologists started wondering if the mask had been made for someone else. The seams around the neck and along the back showed that the mask was carefully joined in multiple sections, rather than crafted from one continuous sheet. This technique was not unusual in Egyptian goldwork, but the pattern of joining raised new questions. It appeared that the face might have been fitted onto an existing headdress, possibly one designed for a different individual. The more researchers looked, the more clues appeared. The tomb itself seemed to share this air of haste and adjustment. Compared with the grand resting places of other pharaohs, Tutankhamun's tomb was quite small, its walls unfinished, and the paintings completed in a rush. Some of the burial objects bore traces of other names that had been reinscribed to match the boy king. Even the shrines and coffins appeared to have been adapted from items originally made for others. Archaeologists believe Tutankhamun's death came suddenly, leaving priests and artisans only about 70 days, the traditional mummification period, to prepare his burial. That short window may have forced them to reuse what was available. The mask, though splendid, could have been among these repurposed treasures. This led to what many call the reuse theory, or repurposing theory. Scholars such as Joanne Fletcher and Nicholas Reeves suggested that the mask might have been originally made for a woman, possibly Queen Nefertiti, who may have ruled briefly before Tutankhamun. The pierced ears, the delicate face, and the different gold composition supported this idea. If true, the most famous image of the boy king might also carry traces of another ruler, one of Egypt's most powerful queens. Not everyone agrees with this theory, but it has changed how experts view the mask. The short reign of a boy king. Tutankhamun became pharaoh of Egypt at about 9 years old, following the death of his predecessor Akhenaten. Akhenaten, who was likely Tutankhamun's father, had changed Egypt's religion to worship only one god, the sun disk Aten. His rule was controversial and caused deep divisions in the kingdom. After Akhenaten's death, Egypt was left unstable. His successor, possibly Smenkhare or the royal widow Nefer-Neferuaten, ruled briefly, but their reign ended quickly, leaving the throne open for the young Tutankhamun. Because he was a child, Tutankhamun did not rule alone. 2 powerful advisors guided him: I, a senior official and priest, and General Horemheb, the commander of the army. They helped the young king restore order to a troubled nation. One of the first major decisions made during his reign was to reverse his father's religious policies. Tutankhamun reopened the temples of the traditional gods, especially the temples of Amun in Thebes. This change won back the support of the priests and the people who had been unhappy during Akhenaten's religious revolution. During his rule, Egypt's capital was moved from Akhetaten, modern Amarna, back to Thebes, symbolizing the return to the old traditions. The boy king's name was also changed from Tutankhaten, meaning living image of Aten, to Tutankhamun, meaning living image of Amun, to show loyalty to the old gods. These actions helped restore Egypt's stability and its connection to traditional beliefs. Tutankhamun married his half-sister Ankhesenamun, the daughter of Akhenaten and Queen Nefertiti. The marriage followed royal custom, as pharaohs often married within the family to maintain a pure royal bloodline. Historical evidence suggests the marriage was politically important, although it produced no surviving children. Archaeologists later found 2 mummified fetuses in his tomb, believed to be his stillborn daughters. The kingdom during Tutankhamun's reign was slowly recovering from the turmoil left by his father. The economy and the temples were being rebuilt, and art began to flourish again in traditional forms. However, as a child and then a young teenager, Tutankhamun depended heavily on his advisors, who likely made most state decisions. Despite his limited experience, he was remembered as a ruler who brought peace back to Egypt after years of disruption. His reign was not long, lasting only about 9 years. Tutankhamun died around the age of 18 or 19. The cause of his death has been debated for decades. Early theories suggested he was assassinated because of a fracture found on his skull. But later CT scans and genetic studies revealed there was no evidence of foul play. The current view is that Tutankhamun died from a combination of health problems. He suffered from a serious leg fracture, possibly from an accident or fall, which became infected. He also had malaria and genetic disorders likely caused by inbreeding within the royal family. These conditions together probably led to his early death. After his death, Egypt entered another period of uncertainty. Because he had no surviving heirs, the throne passed to his elderly advisor, Ay, who performed the burial rites and became pharaoh soon after. Some scholars believe Ay married Tutankhamun's widow, Ankhesenamun, to legitimize his claim to the throne. However, Ankhesenamun soon disappeared from records, and her fate remains unknown. The month after Tutankhamun's death, the royal court rushed to prepare his burial. Because he died suddenly and young, his tomb was much smaller than those of other pharaohs. It is believed that the tomb was originally intended for a private nobleman, but was quickly repurposed for the king. This explains why his burial chamber was compact but filled with extraordinary treasures. After Ay's short reign, the throne eventually passed to Horemheb, the general who had served under Tutankhamun. Horemheb restored full political order and erased the names of both Akhenaten and Tutankhamun from official records, as he wanted to remove all traces of the Amarna period. For centuries afterward, Tutankhamun's name was forgotten until Howard Carter discovered his tomb in 1922, bringing his story back to life. Though Tutankhamun ruled for less than a decade, his impact was lasting. His reign restored Egypt's traditional religion, helped stabilize the kingdom, and preserved the cultural identity that had been lost under Akhenaten. Modern studies of his remains and artifacts have made him one of the most famous figures in ancient history. He was not known for war or conquest, but for peace, healing, and restoration. In many ways, Tutankhamun's short life gave Egypt a second chance to reclaim its ancient spirit. The golden mask of Tutankhamun may not be as flawless as it first appeared. Its perfection might, in fact, be the result of human effort to cover a deeper mystery. Was this mask ever meant for Tutankhamun at all? Or could it have once rested over another royal face entirely? The question lingers like a whisper from the tomb itself. If this mask hides a secret past, what other hidden truths still lie within the treasures of the boy king's burial chamber? When science met the golden face. As technology improved, archaeologists and scientists gained tools powerful enough to look inside Tutankhamun's mask without touching it. For the first time, researchers could explore the object's secrets in full detail, its metal layers, pigments, and hidden joints. While keeping it perfectly safe, the golden mask was no longer just a symbol of art. It became a laboratory of ancient engineering. In 2006 and 2007, a Japanese research team, led by Professor Masayuki Uda, carried out advanced tests using portable X-ray fluorescence and other spectroscopic tools. They wanted to understand exactly what metals and materials were used. Their scans revealed that the mask's surface was not made of one single type of gold, but several. The face contained a higher level of copper, giving it a slightly warmer tone, while the rest of the headdress had more silver, making it look paler. This proved that ancient goldsmiths were experts in adjusting alloys to create subtle shades and reflective effects. The team also identified traces of a fine gold layer applied to even out the surface, which showed the remarkable control of ancient Egyptian metalworkers. These differences were not signs of poor work, but of deliberate craftsmanship. The mask had been planned and built with precision, combining multiple gold sources to produce a glowing balance between light and color. Another discovery involved the internal structure of the beard. Researchers found a hidden gold tube that fixed the long braided beard to the chin. This tube acted like an ancient connector, holding the heavy part securely in place while allowing careful alignment. It showed that the mask was not only artistic but also technically advanced, a product of both beauty and engineering skill. The blue and dark stripes on the mask's headdress were also studied. Scientists learned that they were made with an artificial pigment created more than 3,000 years ago, now known as Egyptian blue. This pigment, composed of silica, copper, and calcium, was the first synthetic color in human history. It glowed under a certain light, giving the mask a divine, almost magical radiance in the dark tomb. However, the mask's story took a troubling turn in 2014. While cleaning at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, the beard accidentally broke off. In a rush to fix it, workers used a strong epoxy glue that hardened unevenly and left visible marks. The mistake caused global concern. The artifact was too valuable to risk permanent damage. In 2015, a joint German-Egyptian team, led by conservation expert Christian Ekman, was assigned to repair the damage properly. The team carefully removed the hardened adhesive, cleaned the surfaces, and reattached the beard using a natural beeswax-based material, the same method ancient Egyptians used for bonding gold. They also used wooden tools to avoid scratching the surface. During this process, the mask underwent full three-dimensional scanning to record every detail of its shape, structure, and texture. The restoration turned into one of the most successful conservation projects in modern Egyptian history. If science could uncover so many hidden features in a single mask, what more might it reveal about the tomb itself and the secrets buried within its narrow walls? Beyond the myths, what the mask truly revealed. With every scan and study, the mystery of Tutankhamun's mask became clearer, yet also more complex. For years, experts argued about whether the mask had been made for the boy king or adapted from another royal figure, perhaps a woman like Queen Nefertiti. The debate shaped how we understood Egypt's final years of the 18th dynasty. Those who supported the reuse theory pointed to the pierced ears, the slight color variation, and the hurried nature of Tutankhamun's burial. They argued that many of his tomb items appeared borrowed or repurposed. The coffins showed signs of modification, and the tomb itself, known as Cave I-62, was unusually small for a pharaoh. Its corridors were narrow, and some wall paintings were left incomplete. These clues hinted that Tutankhamun's death came suddenly, forcing officials to adapt a tomb and items meant for another ruler. However, later tests led by Christian Ekman's team offered a different view. Using X-ray fluorescence and chemical analysis, they found that the face, headdress, and collar shared the same gold alloy composition. This indicated that the mask had been made in one continuous process, not from mismatched parts. The joins were part of its original construction, not later repairs or replacements. According to their findings, the mask was crafted specifically for Tutankhamun, not recycled from another burial. This discovery did not end the discussion, but it gave new balance to the story. It showed that while the burial may have been hurried, the mask itself was made with careful intent. The pierced ears may have carried symbolic meaning, representing rebirth or divine youth rather than gender. The variations in gold could have been artistic choices designed to capture the light differently under torch flames. The tomb's small size still puzzled many archaeologists believe Tutankhamun's burial chamber may have been intended as a private resting place for a lesser royal, later expanded in haste. The king's sudden death at around 19 years old left no time for building a grander tomb. His successor, Pharaoh I, may have taken over a larger tomb originally planned for Tutankhamun, leaving the young ruler to rest in a modest chamber filled with magnificent treasures. These findings helped separate myth from fact. The mask was indeed a product of the boy king's time, though created under pressure. If the mask's mystery has been partly solved, what about the tomb itself? Could its walls, corners, or buried passages still hide something no one has seen for thousands of years? The golden legacy that never fades. When the golden mask of Tutankhamun was discovered by Howard Carter in the year 1922, the world stood still, hidden for over 3,000 years. It emerged from darkness and became one of the most famous treasures ever found. The mask was placed on display in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, where it remained for almost 100 years, drawing millions of visitors from every corner of the world. Now, in 2025, the mask is preparing for a new home, the Grand Egyptian Museum near the Pyramids of Giza. This marks not only a new chapter in the mask's journey, but also a bridge between Egypt's ancient past and its modern pride in preserving its heritage. For decades, the mask stood as the centerpiece of the old museum. People came not only to admire its beauty, but also to feel connected to the mysterious boy king who ruled Egypt more than 3,000 years ago. The shimmering gold, the deep blue inlays of lapis lazuli, and the serene expression made it a symbol of perfection and immortality. Despite being over 3,000 years old, the mask continues to fascinate millions. Its beauty speaks a language that needs no translation. For some, it represents divine kingship. For others, it reflects the mystery of life after death. Scientists still study it to learn how ancient craftsmen achieved such brilliance using simple tools. Each time researchers scan the mask, they uncover something new. From hidden tool marks to traces of pigments that reveal how colors were made in ancient times. Even as science answers more questions, confirming that the mask was made specifically for Tutankhamun and not repurposed from another burial, curiosity remains. Experts continue to explore the smallest details. Future imaging technology may reveal microscopic signs of craftsmanship, while chemical analysis could uncover secrets about the materials and origins of the gold. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.